I've been hitting the record a little sooner. Take a page actually out of the mission log book and just stick the whole wad up on the Patreon.
All right.
But I don't know if you've heard what we do, but basically we'll do a short little intro, bring you in, talk about the first time you saw the movie, which for me will actually be this week.
Samesies.
We got a plot summary, shorter than probably what you're used to, but and then we just kind of roll on. I tend to push the topic a certain way when I feel like I'm going to make an edit later. So, I mean, not editing what you're saying. I just like to stick music cues in because I make music.
Yeah.
Okay. Luke, you want to give us, the year. I'm sure you know the year.
In the year 2006, the internet wrote a movie.
Yeah, I guess so. Memes wrote a movie.
Yeah.
How many movies have had memes written about them since then? There's been a few.
Oh, too many now.
Okay. What would be
it's
the
not
most
interesting
recent
anymore?
Yeah. Is that what Ready? Oh, sorry, I almost said Ready Player One again. And I said it. Crap. Does that count? is that's like all the memes becoming a movie, right?
Mm.
Yeah, that's why you don't like it. But let's talk about one you like a little more today. This is Matt.
This is Luke.
Welcome to our Sci-Fi Sanctuary. The point here. Well, first, it's a Sci-Fi Sanctuary, so I guess we just throw it on the table. Luke, you had qualifiers for this being sci-fi.
Well, the fact that they use a bunch of made-up pheromones to turn the snakes into killing machines is pretty sci-fi. And I just think the way this film was born out of the internet consciousness. The film itself isn't very sci-fi, but it was sort of a weird signifier of what was to come in terms of how culture was going to go.
Okay, I'll take that because I was willing to just be like, oh, it's a large, metal tube flying through the sky. There's always something sci-fi about that. And to that end, we've brought in a pilot today. He's also the co-host of Mission Log, the Orville podcast. Hello, Captain Mike Richards.
Hey, Matt, thanks for having me on. Hey, Luke. I felt the same way. I kind of got through about the first half hour of this movie, and I suggested it because Matt said, let's do something aviation related. And I had never seen snakes on a plane, but I could remember the sort of the, when it was in the zeitgeist and very much, kind of a cultural phenomenon. So I said, I'd kind of like to watch it. And then about 30 minutes into the movie, I'm like, yeah, this is more kind of action adventure-y, more in the vein of maybe, the Fast and Furious franchise, but just like you with the Venoms and the anti-Venoms, if you will, and the pheromones, I thought, yeah, this is sci-fi.
That said, this podcast has found an excuse to do showgirls. So
okay, I didn't know where the bar was. So now that I know that, I feel a lot better about it. I was talking to my wife about it, and she goes, well, it's on the Sci-Fi Channel all the time. And I go, really? And she's like, oh yeah. So I was like, done.
There we go. Fully qualified. So we don't have to make the showgirls excuse anyway. So, of course I've known about the movie. And of course, when all the marketing, the meme, it's like, yeah, that's awesome. But I'm like, man, I'm not into snakes. Luke, have I actually done my snake story on air?
I don't think so. I always forget that you're scared of snakes until you bring it up.
Yeah. Because, first let's go a few years back in high school, senior year of high school. We're spending time with family, friends. The son has a boa constrictor. And I remember that I was perfectly happy to have the thing on my arm. I didn't care, right? So at that point, didn't care. My first job out of university was teaching environmental education in the swamplands of South Carolina. So
that sounds horrifying.
So when we're taking the kids on hikes, you have to keep your eye on, is that a stick or, like a coral snake? So there's that. I remember walking by a nice big magnolia tree, South Carolina style, and a snake falling out of it right next to me. That didn't do well for me. And the worst was we cleaned our office space and moved the file cabinet, and behind it we found two very poisonous snakes living behind the file cabinet. So they'd been there like pretty much the whole time we were there. So yeah, since then I've been like less cool with snakes. So I wasn't so cool with, I was like, I don't want to see snakes on a plane, but I sucked it in. I watched it.
I don't know if I'm getting ahead, but I laughed out loud reading your notes, Matt, because I can tell your snake phobic tendencies were coming out.
Right. So Luke says I get to reciprocate with a spider film sometime.
Yeah.
All right. Arachnophobia. John Goodman.
Yeah. No, you have to do me the favor that I've done you and at least make them crap CGI spiders.
Right. Yeah, that is how I got to the movie. Once I realized I was basically watching the digital equivalent of rubber snakes, I didn't care too much. Luke, you've seen this more than once.
Yeah, I don't think I caught it in theaters, but I definitely remember like the zeitgeist around it. And I think I even went into a bookshop and the film wasn't even out yet. And there was a book of like best quotes from Snakes on a Plane because they were just so sure that it was going to make money because the internet loved it. I think I ended up buying it on DVD, maybe not when it came out, maybe when it dropped to like dirt cheap after like a month. But I watched it and I found it really fun. Like, just dumb, enjoyable silliness. And I definitely watched it a couple of times. And then, I didn't watch it for 10, 15 years. And I watched it again last night.
So I guess the thing about this movie that's often on the table is it's exactly what you think it is, more or less. So I don't know. I guess the snake pheromones is like a slight surprise, but
no, well, there's always got to be some excuse for why they're being like this. But
yeah. I'm just wondering if this is like the wasn't the perfect marketing, wasn't this movie basically broke even, if I remember?
Yeah, it had like a budget of 30 million and then made 60 million, but once you put marketing and stuff in there.
Yeah, it's about the same.
Well, this is maybe this is when they still haven't quite learned the lesson. When people started to learn the lesson that just because the internet loves something doesn't mean they will spend money to support it.
Maybe the Star Wars prequels was like the opposite motion. I don't know.
Well, it's also, like what seems like, wow, everyone's talking about this on the internet can just be like 1,000 dudes. And it can seem much louder and bigger than it actually is.
That's true. I kind of think about that with the Kiss Army. I think, Kiss tends to go platinum on everything they sell, but it's the same million people buying it over and over and over again and selling out every show.
Whenever a new Star Trek comes out or a video game and you get this big online, like, we hate it, we're going to boycott it. And then it still sells like 16 million because the 1,000 nerds who boycotted it don't actually add up to much.
But yeah, now one thing we found this podcast, and if this is you, listener, hello, we found sometimes with more, what's the word I'm looking, more bro-ish movies. I guess this is a bit of a bro-ish movie. Is we get people come stumbling into YouTube, like clicking on our podcast, thinking it's the actual movie, and then those are the episodes with the highest watch counts. And then
great.
There's a bunch of comments with like "F you." Now there was one comment on King Kong where someone was like, "I hope you guys follow King Kong around with a large shovel," and I was like, "Is that a compliment or an insult?" Because I think it seems like an okay idea. We want to follow a big monkey, right?
That's just realism. You talking the Jack Black early 2000s version or mid 2000s version, or
no, it was only the 1933 one.
OG.
Oh, okay, going all the way back. OG.
Yeah, we're still working our way up to the more recent ones.
Now, were you able to find the version with the spider attack, the spider scene from the original one? That was hard to find.
Yeah. We came down on the conclusion that it's only on only on still photos.
I think you're right. I think there's no film of that.
Yeah, Peter Jackson remade the footage when he was making the new movie. But yeah, I don't think the original footage exists anywhere.
Because I have that 2-disc King Kong from many years ago, but I think the second disc is in America, so I don't know if it's on that one or not. Got got the movie in Japan and didn't bring the special features because I don't usually have time for special features. Luke, there's a bit of a story here. You want to tell us that tale? Oh,
I didn't know I was doing the plot for this one.
Oh yeah, you said you could do it off the duffer, I guess so.
I probably can. Yep. Surfer boy Sean Jones witnesses a terrible murder by gangster Henry Kim and gets taken in to be a witness. The FBI flies him in first class to LA, but Kim has snuck a container full of snakes onto the plane and some flowers full of pheromones to make them go crazy. The snakes get loose, kill 50 people, kill the pilots, and eventually video game player Kenan Thompson, wait, that's the actor. Video game player Troy flies the plane into a landing at LAX because, you know, planes basically fly themselves. Any idiot can do it.
Inciting words.
That's why I wanted to know if you were a pilot or not before we did this.
I had myself muted for your recap, but I just made a face. Yeah, you know, it's we don't do anything. I thought yesterday was Pilot Appreciation Day, man, and you're doing this. But it's a complex balance of managing automation and manually flying the airplane, depending on the conditions.
I used to drive a bus, but that's a different thing.
Pretend I could actually fly a plane.
I do have to throw out the fun fact that I had a license to drive a bus 5 years before I learned to ride a bicycle.
Shut up.
I just never learned to ride a bike growing up. And when I moved to Japan, you know, suddenly where I was living, like a bike was kind of necessary. Although, Luke, bike's not necessary for you, is it?
No, but I'm the crazy guy who walks like 53 kilometers for fun.
Yeah, I guess I didn't do that back in the day. I will now, but yeah, well, not quite that far. I did your way to walk once. All right, we're talking about was it like 40-mile walk that Luke did for fun, and I did because the train line completely shut down for some reason. Train commuter.
That's a long way. I think my longest walk was about 20 miles home from a high school party that I wasn't supposed to be at, so I couldn't call for a ride.
I mean, I could have found a way. I could have gone back to work and probably gotten rides. I've gotten hold of people in the house even though they're sleeping. But no, it's just the challenge of it all. It's like, hey, I'm gonna walk 40 miles tonight. That's the joy of podcasting, right? It's like I'm just gonna listen to like 5 podcasts on the way. It's cool. Also, it's Japan, so it's not like, you know, I'm from Atlanta. I wouldn't do that at midnight in Atlanta. But in the valleys of Japan, it's fine. It is Sam Jack's movie. Nobody calls him that. I started writing that in my notes though, just because it was easier that way.
I think your favorite reference was when you called him Acton Jackson.
Oh yeah. I quit sending Luke my notes because he doesn't read them.
Early on, we kind of needed them as the crutch, but now that we're more into our groove, I don't really feel the need to read them.
No,
I mean, Samuel L. Jackson is the reason this film exists, basically. Like, some Hollywood exec had the idea of snakes on a plane, someone attached Samuel L. Jackson to it, the internet found out, and just your imagination goes wild, right? Snakes on a plane starring Samuel L. Jackson? Yes, please.
Shut up and take my money.
And yeah, that's where the meme of just the motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane starts. And next thing you know, that's in the film.
So I saw the movie for the first time this last week on Netflix, and serendipity, baby, because it's getting pulled off of Netflix in the States here in about 3 days. So I was able to watch it twice, but I always thought that line was, there are motherfucking snakes on the motherfucking plane. So I was expecting it earlier in the movie. And I'm kind of going through this thing. Like, did I miss it? Like, what happened? Like, when do they say it? Like, when's he going to do it? And then towards the end of the movie, we may get into that more later. That's where it came. And I was just like, boom.
That's the really, that is the climax of the movie. You know, you could say it's Troy landing the plane if you wanted to, but that's not true. It's kind of like Independence Day, right? The president's speech is the actual climax of the movie. Everything else is
not go silently into the night. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think because, and maybe the way the internet imagined the line was early in the film, there are motherfucking snakes in the motherfucking. But when they realized how popular the line was, they had to make it like a big moment at the end. And I love that bit. Like, because the way it's shot, it knows that's what you've been waiting for.
Yeah, it was totally the payoff for the film. And, you know, your recap kind of brought me back to, you know, my initial thoughts I was like, you know, it's kind of a cool jam, kind of looks like a surfer movie, you know, got us pretty handy with a dirt bike. Man, is this Blue Crush? Did they put the wrong movie on? Is it like, am I watching Snakes on a Plane? And then it was kind of like, oh, all right, well, that's pretty violent. And then it kind of got into it, but I was not expecting things to start out the way it did. Yeah,
in terms of like the violence, none of the snake stuff bothered me, But there are a couple
None of it?
deaths where like a stiletto goes in an ear or a guy like lands on a spike. Those ones got me. I think because you go into the film expecting snake nonsense.
Yeah, those are some sudden, unexpected like impalements because it's like, oh, ha, 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 the railing's falling off, and they're gonna go boom and fall on really sharp things, or blunt things, actually, I guess. Yeah. So, but what would? Oh yeah, the other thing, just talking about this being like internet memes going into the movies. This is a year before he first shows up in the adventures, the Iron Man clip as Nick Fury, isn't it? Which he was already represented in comic book form, what, like 7 years earlier?
Yeah.
So, because it was like, what was it? Oh, the Ultimate verse.
Yeah,
right?
the Ultimate version, they decided to make Nick Fury basically Samuel L. Jackson. Just because, I guess.
It's like, was Snakes on a Plane like the test run for doing that? Maybe. I mean, just in like, I'm not even saying like in someone's mind, just like in, reality's mind.
Maybe. Like, it did lead to one of my all-time favorite comic book lines, where when main universe Spider-Man travels to Ultimate and meets their Samuel Jackson, their Nick Fury, and Nick Fury's like, "Oh, is there a Nick Fury in your universe?" And he goes like, "Yeah, but he's white." And Nick Fury's like, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man."
It's Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
He did that, I think a 90s version of
that's the Spider-Verse I want to see. Samuel Jackson Hasselhoff with Nick Fury.
I loved his line when he was like, "It's my job to make life and death decisions every day, and I'm very good at it." I mean, just that I don't think that as an airline pilot I have the same job. I have heard people say that, and I look at them and I say, "You're doing it wrong." But I think for somebody who's in the FBI business and guarding witnesses and stuff like that, that's probably true. And he did engender, just from the beginning, just an amazing amount of trust. Do what I say if you want to live, kind of thing. I think I misquoted that. Do what I say and you'll live, I think is what he said. You're
trying to make it the Terminator.
I did. I definitely went there. I kind of mixed those two up. But he did. He was kind of worthy of that trust right away, and it was. I thought he played the character great. I thought Julianne Margulies was great. I had no idea she was in this movie.
Yeah, that was
Claire.
Yep. Yeah, the flight attendant turned attorney.
Yeah, it's one of those films. It's actually got quite a good cast of just many like bit players. Apart from Samuel L. Jackson, there's not a lot of huge star power in this movie, but everyone in it is I know that guy. I know that guy. Oh, I know them. Like it's a full cast of those kind of actors.
Yeah, and Taylor Kitsch, if you blink, you miss him, from Friday Night Lights, and
John Carter.
Exactly right, John Carter. You're listening. Thanks for saving me, man. I was struggling for that one, to reach for that one. And Battleship and so many other things. He was Kyle, the guy that disabled the smoke alarm and conveniently allowed the snake to come out of the ceiling and ended that young couple's life, sadly.
Yeah, so he wasn't a hero in the end. Was not a hero for Disney either. Although we did say the movie was okay, at least with John Carter. I'm looking up his name. David Koechner is he's Whammy. I'm trying to tell from this Japanese rendition of Anchorman 2, so I have to read his name in Japanese.
Yeah. So he was in Anchorman, and he played Rick, the co-pilot. And I loved Rick's moxie, man, because Rick first of all, he showed up. He's like, "Darling, you look like a piece of candy. You just look delicious." And just starting from the get-go, man, but all the way till mere moments from his death, he doesn't stop hitting on Claire. She takes her scarf and ties a tourniquet around his arm, and he goes, "I think you're gonna need to use that shirt too." Just doesn't let up, man. In the face of overwhelming odds, like what's all that 1 in a million talk you were saying? He's not giving up.
I guess this is this is pre-Anchorman movies. Actually, 2 was pretty late in the game, wasn't it? It was 2013. I see. I've lost time. The universe did end in 2012. Time stopped making any sense, and if it did, it stopped making more sense 2 years ago, right?
Agreed.
So, like Anchorman 2, that just came out. Whoa, no, it didn't. There's something else that just had 10-year anniversary. Well, this movie itself makes me feel old. It still has. I guess it's because the first time we really saw the the internet meme launch, it just sticks in your head as, oh yeah, that happens. It's the only time it made an impression.
When we talked about this, I was talking to my co-pilot about when we thought it came out, and he said it's got to be, he said 15, 20 years old. And I was like, what do you know? And then I saw I was 16 years old, and I was like, yeah, apparently he knows a lot. So I should have probably taken him up on that. So Julianne Margulies went on to do The Good Wife on CBS, where she played an attorney, wife of a kind of a crooked Chicago politician, or at least a politician that became crooked over the course of the series. Spoilers if you haven't seen The Good Wife. But she laughed when she watched the movie with me that that's why she was leaving her flight attendant job to because she got her law degree. She was going to get to be the good wife. So there's in universe continuity there.
Yep. Let's choose to believe that.
I was just I saw like on I think it was on the CNN website a few days ago. It was short-lived airlines that flopped. So of course the one they had the picture of for the headline was the Hooters airline, which lasted for a couple of years, and I think more than a few years.
I had a friend flying for them, and I was looking for a job at the time, and he goes, "You don't want to work here." That was his whole thing. He was like, "Oh, get your stuff in, get me your resume." It was just like, you don't want to work here. That was the end of that.
Luke, do you have that in the UK? You know what we're talking about, right?
I'm aware of Hooters. I did not know they had an airline.
Yeah, now they had
only like 2 branches of it in the UK.
They had actual flight attendants, and then they'd have 2 or 3 Hooters girls in the Hooters like uniforms, right? So they were really just there to bounce around, I guess, because they had actual flight attendants that were like, I guess licensed or whatever.
So the airline was actually a charter airline called Pace Airlines, PACE Airlines, and they were contracted by Hooters for marketing and product placement and that kind of thing, to do business as Hooters Air. And you're exactly right. They had their own flight attendants. They wore kind of they wore kind of track suits that were orange and white, like the Hooters uniforms, like the Hooters colors. But they were just kind of like full on track suits. And then they had like you said, the Hooters, actual Hooters girls that were more. How'd you put it? There to bounce around.
Yeah. I'm looking here for, okay, here I got the list coming up on my iPad here, because there's one that Pet Airways, whatever, Hooters Air. There's one that's yes, this is it, the Lord's Airline, and it's one jet.
Shut up.
And it says on the side, the Lord's Airline, and it was strictly no alcohol on board, provided service from Miami to Israel. and it ended with like insane, like, oh yeah, it ended with legal actions between the founders.
Thou shalt not covet, people, come on.
Smokers Express, that's the smoke
snake
plane.
On that plane just tries to get you to eat an apple, so it's not as bad,
right? Smokers Express, that's the smoking plane, so that's fun. Decided to circumvent the rule by establishing an airline based on a private club. It required a $25 membership fee and was only open to people over 21. So, but you can smoke on that plane. MGM Grand Air, which is super luxurious. Okay, so anyway, I thought I'd shout out, someone else's work there, claim it for our podcast entertainment purposes. But yeah, the Lord's Airline, that was amazing. I just need to make sure I got the name right.
And Luke, this one. I know their call sign was Hula, but it was Asian Pacific. What was the name of the airline? Do you remember?
I think it was South Pacific.
Okay. And my daughter, I was having dinner with my daughter the other night. She had seen this movie, and she goes, I don't get why they didn't just land. And I go, well, they were going from, Hawaii to LA. They were flying over water. And she goes, oh, no plot holes. I like it.
I thought of everything. Those snakes on a plane, guys.
No plot holes.
I laughed so hard. We were at Lou Malnati's in Chicago, man, and I about 6 tables looked at us because I laughed so hard at that comment.
Now, what is the going way off topic? What is Do you know the name of the pizza pot pie place?
What?
There's a
In
pizza
where?
pot in Chicago. The other one of the famous pizzas there is the pizza pot
Oh, we were talking
pie.
about that the other night. So yeah, we were talking about this is, I guess I'm going on my Chicago pizza tour. But Giordano's and Lou Malnati's are kind of the two Chicago style pizza places that we were talking about. And then we got into a discussion of that pizza pot pie place. I think, and I don't know where that is. I'll have to
It was
find
way
that
north.
out.
It's north of the city. It was like in a pretty swank part of town. Because I think it was about 2009. I went up there with actually a guy that's often on this podcast, Mark. And we went middle. He was just coming because he was bored, I guess. Because we were going to go to the video game museum on the way, and then get hot dogs and pizza pot pie in Chicago. So he was game to go, but it was December, so it was at Chicago in December, and we're like walking to go get pizza pot pie. It was pretty intense because it was
That's awesome.
God knows what level of cold at the time. Certainly the coldest the dude from Atlanta had experienced. Dudes.
Oh, I bet.
So what's right about this plane? What's wrong about this plane?
Well, the plane visually, and they mentioned that it was a 747. It looked like a 747-400, which is at the time the most advanced version of the 747 that had been flying since about 1970. What's right and what's wrong about it? The first thing I noticed was when the old man, aka the captain, went kind of downstairs to reset some circuit breakers and take care of the avionics, which is a portmanteau between aviation and electronics. That's where that word comes from. He went down there to look at those. Some airplanes do have an electronics and equipment compartment, or electronics equipment compartment that you can access from the flight deck. The 747 is not one of those airplanes, as far as I know. You get to it from the cargo bay or from outside. So that was one thing that was wrong about it. But the electronics, the flight deck looked pretty realistic. They were consistent with the external shots, which was nice, probably because they only wanted to build one CGI model. But you'll see a lot of older films that use stock footage that they'll show a 727 taking off, and then it's a 4-engine airplane at cruise, and then it's a 2-engine airplane when they show the landing. So that was pretty consistent. The accessing the circuit breaker to the outflow valve by having to go down into the cargo bay, crawl through the Jeffries tube, not going into that thing when I know there's snakes on the plane, just sorry. And resetting that, I think that was definitely written for, just story and tension. Outflow valves, are kind of maybe a little bit interesting. So you have an airplane, you want to keep it pressurized, right? Because nobody can breathe at 8 miles up in the air, 6 miles up in the air. So the engines blow air into the cabin of the aircraft, and if you don't let some of that air out, it's going to over pressurize. So the outflow valve modulates and keeps the cabin at a certain pressure, which equates to a certain pressure altitude. Having said all that, if that outflow valve stops working properly, the airplane could either over pressurize or you could lose pressurization. So normally there's 2 electrical systems, 2 different power sources, usually one powered by the left engine, the other one powered by the right engine. On the 747, you got 4 different generators. So there's lots of opportunities for backup. And then normally there's a manual backup also, where you can do this thing, quote unquote, manually just off the battery with a switch open and close. Some airplanes, DC-9, MD-80, things like that, had actual cables that you could drive it on. So crawling through the Jeffries tube to get to the circuit breaker to do that thing, that was probably wrong about the airplane. But overall, as far as the aviation part of it goes, I didn't really find a whole lot that really took me out of the story, to be quite honest.
Oh, that shows, I guess, someone paying attention. It
all felt fairly reasonable.
Yeah.
There was nothing that I was like, oh, okay, well, they've made that up.
Well,
I would have enough. I would have gone with I would have gone with the FBI guy to land the plane. I think no matter how much time Keenan had on the PlayStation 2 and how good he was competing against his older brother. I think I'm going to trust the FBI guy that's got at least some training, keeping cool under pressure and making good decisions. then because Keenan's flying the thing, and all I'm saying to myself the whole time is, what's up with that?
Well, it's like he knows how to fly. Does he know how to land?
Exactly.
Now, of course, Luke's got his head in the gaming world, right? Have you come across flight simulator dorks?
Oh yeah. People
Okay.
love Flight Simulator. They just recently brought out the most recent version, and it's basically got all of Google Earth in it.
That's
Oh.
cool.
People have been really enjoying that one, just like flying and looking at their old house and stuff.
Okay, that's cool. I never hear about that particular strain of things.
Well, it's Flight Simulator, like the real serious stuff. It's so insular. Doesn't come up in regular gaming conversation. Like being into flight sim is not the same as being into like Mario Kart and stuff. You got to. People are really into it. Who are into it?
It's, you know, I'm not, but I've got friends that are aviation enthusiasts that do have pretty good flight simulator setups to their house. And, you know, the fundamentals are there, you know, as far as like trying to keep the platform stable and making, you know, gentle corrections and, you know, the ease of over controlling when you're trying to land or make a turn or even just fly level is all. I thought it was all very realistic as far as maybe not the exact feel and, you know, that kind of thing, but as far as the fundamentals, as far as the concept goes, I think it would help quite a bit. And there's more and more desktop type trainers that are being approved for FAA by the FAA for use in flight training.
Yeah, on my
I
end,
will say that no version of these realistic flight simulators is on a PlayStation 2 or a PSP.
I was gonna say I got kind of turned off. I think the last time I tried to use what like Microsoft Flight Simulator was probably like 1990 when I was 11 years old, and I gave up very quickly. When you're 11, you don't have the patience for that. It's like, hey, I could play, you know, with Star Fox instead. No, you can't do that in 1990. But
yeah, no, I definitely get the idea. So are we going to talk about, I kind of want to talk about Hair Plugs guy, because he had kind of an interesting story arc.
He had a face I recognize as well, and I was just looking at him just now on the cast list. The character's name is Paul, and he's played by, I had him a second ago and now I've lost him. It's an Irish actor, and to me it looked like, oh, I know this guy, but I can't figure out what I know him from, and now he's disappeared from the cast list. That's weird.
Maybe he's being erased from reality.
He definitely did look, he looked familiar, but first thing he said was something along the lines when he found out he was going to be in first class. He said to Claire, well, are you going to get me to my meeting on time? And she was like, you know, funny thing, coach arrives the same time first class does. And then he threatened her with a strongly worded letter to management. Then he kind of gets into it with the dog and the mom, the French, I think she was French, maybe the French mom, who later sucked the snake venom out with the olive oil.
The actress is in the Fast and Furious films.
Okay.
And she's from Brazil in those.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure where she's supposed to be from.
But she was fantastic. And he looks at her and looks at Mercedes and says, fucking Americans. Well, I mean, only one of them, you know, was an American. So, but poor Mary Kate, man. Then he throws the dog right at the boa.
Yeah, that's just rude.
I gotta admit, I screamed at that in shock, just like out loud in the hotel. Was kind of worried that security might get, you know, I might be getting a knock on my door because it was getting at 9-10 o'clock at night, so kind of borderline too late to do that. But did you notice probably the weakest CGI in the movie? I thought, because I really thought the CGI held up pretty well, you know, for being a 16-year-old movie. I thought the worst bit of CGI was when the boa consumed Hair Plugs guy. Most
CGI struggles when it gets to when it actually has to interact with a person.
Right.
That's always where it falls down. And yeah, in this film, it's suddenly he got like transformed into a weird CG model of himself or something.
Yeah, I guess maybe they had to build a CG model of himself in order to make it work. But man, when when Sam Jackson decided to open up some windows at the end of the movie, and you saw the boa fly out the window,
with his legs
shaped like exactly. I laughed so hard. I went back and looked at that 2 or 3 times. It's like, okay, so hair plugs guy. Not a lot of character development there, but he did have a story that we got to follow.
A lot of heartburn. I don't know
Not
how
a lot of films kill the dog.
No, I was about to say
rare.
that's a line in movies, right? Like, yeah, you like, was it if you're mean to the droid, that makes you bad, and if you kill the dog, that makes you a monster.
Yeah. Yeah, like once he'd done that, you knew he was gonna die pretty quick. That dude doesn't get to survive the film.
No, he doesn't. But was there any repercussions or retribution for the woman that just trampled the guy and jabbed the heel of her shoe through his ear?
I couldn't.
Or she just walk up to the front of the airplane was fine.
I couldn't tell who that was. It wasn't like one of the main characters. It was an extra. So there's every chance that she died a bit later, but I'd have to go back with a.
Just how much do you believe in karma?
It's like homeboy just got trampled. Oh, he got trampled.
Well, now you know when you hear like, oh, there was a riot at this concert and people got trampled. Yeah, that's some gnarly shit.
Yeah, the the other bit of science that I think that's qualified this as science fiction is the 1970s computer monitor monochromatic effect of the snake point of view. The snake POV. I thought it was cool. I guess apparently they see in black and white. That's kind of what I was told. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Snake's vision is not like a big deal for them.
Right.
I think they mostly rely on their like scent, which they get from their tongue. Because I guess crawling around at like floor level, you don't get a great view of anything, right?
Yeah, that's where those pheromones came in, right? That's because they could. Yeah, they made them go nuts.
See, Luke, for you and the spiders, right? They may have many eyes, but apparently they cannot see more than about 6 inches.
Yeah, that
I
makes
heard
sense.
something like that recently. Like, so if the spider, if the tarantula's like on my TV over here, can't see me.
I mean, are you sure that applies to ones that big?
Okay, I'm not sure, but yeah,
I'm sure it's relative.
I feel like the fact I saw, the quote unquote fact I saw on the internet was like saying all spiders. So
hashtag not all spiders.
Yeah, that could be a case. Yeah, again, like I'm pretty sure there's the airlines I was reading about earlier were real. We have photos and stuff, but spider fact, you take that with a grain of salt.
I just noticed a couple of more things as far as right and wrong from an aviation point of view. What was right when Rick the FO said we're more than halfway, we might as well continue. We figure a thing called an equal time point. So usually you have a headwind or a tailwind, so you can't just go by half distance, right? Because if you had a tailwind for the first half of the flight by mileage, it would take you longer to turn around and fly back.
Yeah.
So you actually have to kind of take the wind into account and figure out what the equal time point is, which there's some, algebra involved. And thank God Dispatch does that for us now and we don't have to. But back when I was at Trans World Airlines in the 90s, we had to figure that stuff ourselves. Another thing that Matt, you pointed out, you cannot call Los Angeles Tower from 1,500 miles away using a VHF radio in your airplane.
Maybe they had some subspace.
That's right. They had subspace. Typically what you do at that point is just SATCOM at this point, which was kind of just coming along in 2006. Before that, they used HF radios and kind of transmitted to a third party that would transfer your message to some controlling agency. So they would kind of like transfer your request over, but you weren't talking directly to LAX Tower or anybody on either coast when you're in the middle like that.
Oh no, there went the thought again. Goodbye, thought.
We had the little subplot of the guys on the ground, like trying to get the antivenoms and stuff together.
I liked that.
I
found that engaging.
It definitely felt like, someone was making this film and like, we can't just have just these scenes on the plane. There's got to be a little bit of variety. But it worked. It made the overall event feel more, well, this is a big deal. I hadn't thought about what they're going to do when they land with all these antivenoms. It added a little extra layer to it.
Yeah, I liked the, bringing in the science guy, bringing in the, the knowledge that, these snakes are from all over the world. So they went to the criminal guy to get them. But what I did like was FBI guy now after he became, working in the office.
Yeah,
and he was just like, I'm going back to my roots, man. I'm going to jump out of this helicopter and do my job.
Having the time of his life.
I did like how snake venom guy was just like mildly he's about what you'd expect snake venom guy without being over the top. He's definitely weird, but like he seemed like a pretty accurate snake venom guy, because usually you'd add a little more snark to that sort of character in a movie. But
so when Sam Jackson was talking to his buddy, the office FBI guy, and he was like, so what's life like, man? You can tell me the truth. And he's like, get to go home, spend it with my wife. She's hot. Get to spend more time with the kids. They're great. Sam's just like, yeah, keep telling yourself that, man. I know the truth.
Yeah, that was fun.
So I'll go on the record saying I don't like flying. It's not a fear of flying. It's that I'm really tall and I can usually only afford coach. I did get bumped once. It was actually in university, and we got discount student tickets to Portugal, Spain. We went to Portugal, Spain, Morocco, came back up, and there, the thing where we're overbooked, and we'll give you vouchers in the future. But we ended up getting bumped to first class, so it was like a $200 plane ticket, where we got a 6 to 8 hour first class ride back. So that was very cool, and nice. That, yeah, my legs had ways to stretch.
Wow, that's nice.
And yeah, I guess my most my hair. Oh, I thought it was fun, but have you ever tried to land at Jackson Hole?
No, but we go into some other ski resorts that are kind of like, in the bottom of a valley.
Yeah, that was just a wild ride in a propeller plane, which I guess, it's like they do it every day. So I'm like, well, it's kind of fun, I guess. That was the most fun plane ride I've ever had. So, Luke, that was basically me just getting to get you to tell me your flying.
Well, I'm 5'7", so flying's no problem at all for me.
That's cool.
I hadn't flown a lot. I've been on a couple of holidays as a kid. But then, obviously I flew to Japan by myself. So that was the longest I've ever done. It's basically like a full 24 hours of traveling once you put the coach in and stuff. My main memory of that flight is that I had the in-flight movie, but my headphone port only worked if I held the headphone in manually. So I was trying to watch Wonder Woman, but I couldn't let go of the jack or I lost my sound.
They weren't showing snakes on a plane?
Maybe. No. No, they were not.
But yeah, it's pretty crammed in there. I get why, especially if you're tall. I mean, I'm 6 feet, on my in shoes, and it's tight. I mean, it really is sometimes. So I get that. And we try to keep it as comfortable and get the air conditioning on early to try to make it as comfortable as we can for everybody. Because we know the challenges. And there was the scene that kind of reminded me of the scene in the airport where in the movie where the air conditioning went out and they realized there was something that needed to be fixed. Something else that was wrong with the movie is that if you don't have that air coming in, when you're at altitude, you're going to depressurize. It's just you're just not going to be able to maintain pressurization like that. But another thing I learned in the movie is that clearly 2 minutes and 30 seconds is too long to cook a snake in a microwave. But 10 to 15 seconds of Aquanet with the lighter is just perfect. Just that.
You gotta know how to cook your snake. Oh well, actually, I've seen snake ramen before, and
people definitely eat snake. Yeah.
And is it where is it in Japan where they have the snake sake?
I don't know where, but
it might be Okinawa where it's got the snake in the liquor or the Nihonshu bottle, which I don't want that. And I've eaten the worm and the mezcal before, but yeah.
I would drink the snake sake.
Yeah. The secret to eating the worm and the mezcal is that you just finished the bottle of the mezcal. So whatever. So that's cool.
In terms of the snake carnage, the bits that I always remember, for obvious reasons, are the snakes on the boobies and the snake on the willy.
So the snake on the boobie, I was like, that was the first. I think that was the first snake bite, except maybe the other guy went on the shoulder first. I don't think so. I think the boobie was anyway. That was the first scene of snake carnage, and that was horrifying. But when dude goes in there, I'll just call him dude that was hard to like. Checking himself out in the mirror and how you doing, big guy, looking down there. It's like, oh God. But he's like, undoing his pants. I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't take it out. Don't take it out. Don't take it out. Put it away. Put it away. Oh God.
So that's the film telling you right up front, hey, don't worry. This isn't a real horror film. You're about to enjoy this one. But yeah, that's the line is like, fucking snake, get off my fucking dick.
I am tired of this motherfucking snake on my motherfucking dick.
How many times do we have to mutter that to ourselves? Oh yeah, one other thing on the microwave. In Japan, we got these little tortilla wraps, and you get them and they're in plastic, and they'll heat them for you. And they always ask, do you mind if I cut it with a little bit with scissors so it doesn't explode? And I'm always kind of like just tempted to be like, no, you don't cut that. You put it in the microwave.
Use that in the microwave.
We're gonna watch it blow up.
I used to have a habit of microwaving a lot of stuff when I was a kid. The most memorable ones, when you microwave a raisin, it grows back to the size of a grape. But it's also rock solid and it smells of smoke.
Hey, that's science in action.
If you microwave an egg, it explodes hard. It explodes so hard that if you put a glass over it to be safe, it shatters the glass.
This is just a raw egg?
Yeah, just an egg.
Just chicken egg?
Yeah. Yeah, me and my friends.
How long does that take to happen?
Not long.
Not long, surprisingly.
And I also I went through a weird phase where I would microwave peanut butter sandwiches. And the bread goes all chewy and weird. I don't recommend it, but I was into it for a while.
Hey, Luke, I just think you figured out what we're going to do with these students for summer school. Come on, kids, gather around the microwave.
We're going to explode some stuff.
There's got to be some math that you can, employ to predict how long it'll take.
Some gambling.
So the gambling we'll set the over under 3 minutes. 2.5 on a snake. Again, getting back to the snake carnage. So they were looking for the doctor, right? Because the little brother got bit, and that was sad, right? Because the big brother was supposed to protect him, but he drew the picture of the snake and saved him, so it all worked out okay. But they were looking for the doctor, and they see the doctor kind of dead, and the snake crawls out of its mouth.
Yep.
So, like, what are your thoughts on how the snake got oriented to crawl out of the doctor's mouth? Did it go in and turn around? It went up through. It went up through. So you're thinking it went up through the butt?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I hadn't thought about it until now, but yeah.
Yep. I'm just like, why did the snake even want to go there in the first place?
I was like, could it have gone down and turned around? I don't. I'm gonna have to ask. I'm gonna ask the most knowledgeable guy on the movie. So up through the butt.
Yeah. Did it have to go through the entire intestines?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
that took a
long way.
It bit its way through.
It was real happy once it was coming out. Then okay.
Yeah, it's been up him for a while. You mentioned the two kids. Something I find really funny. There's 3 child actors in this film, because right at the start there's the kid who wants the autograph, and then there's the 2 brothers.
There's a baby.
And the baby, I guess. But the younger of the 2 brothers, his only picture online is a screenshot from this film. But the other 2, I guess, have done a bit more acting, because now they've got like headshots of them looking buff adult.
Oh, no way.
Dudes. Yeah. So I'm like, who the fuck is that? And then I read the name and it's, oh, that's one of the kids. But here he is with his pecs looking like a.
Well,
and then the little kid, I guess, didn't do any more films after this because his only picture is a screenshot from this film.
That's funny. Yeah, I looked up a few people. I looked up Mercedes and what she had done. I can't remember right now. I think she was on maybe a soap actress for a little while and did some modeling. And I looked up the actress who played Tiffany, the flight attendant, as well, which is kind of funny because I'm married to a Tiffany who's a former flight attendant. So they're on that part of the hot crazy scale, down by hairdressers, strippers, and girls named Tiffany. Don't know if you guys are familiar with that chart or not.
Yeah, that's How I Met Your Mother stuff.
Well, on thinking of snake carnage, is that part of your offer to fight things in a steel cage? Will you fight snakes?
I mean, I think I'm on record of saying I'll fight any animal of the player's choosing, so I guess, but I've never really thought about how you fight a snake.
I know, it's a little weird.
I think you grab them behind the head and they're basically useless, though.
Which leads me to a question. So, one, loved the use of the taser on the snakes by Acton Jackson, and also flight attendant guy, the surprisingly straight flight attendant guy, I guess was the joke at the end of the movie.
That maybe hasn't aged as well.
Yeah, no, it hasn't aged
anymore.
So my wife and I were watching. It was like, what? Oh God! So we kind of dawned on both of us at the same time.
Yeah.
But he reaches down and grabs the snake by the tail, and I'm like,
that's not the smart way to grab a
snake. But it was right. He was quick thinking with the microwave.
I like the kickboxing guy. He was cool, and he grabbed the snake right where you grab a snake.
Kickboxing guy was cool. Flight attendant trying to do those kind of kicks, man. You got to warm up. You got to stretch.
Yeah.
You can't just kick like that cold.
I did like how this movie had like pretty much the straight up 70s disaster movie structure.
Oh yeah.
Just like, because well, you saw my notes. 20 minutes in, no snakes. We must be fine. Because like the disaster rates, the whole first act is just like everyone's stupid stories.
Yeah. You gotta give every character like 1 minute of setup. So
you got some character development. You gotta get there. You gotta let them know who's having marital problems and who's not, who's cheating on whom and with who and that kind of stuff. So it was definitely that. But Matt, have we talked on during the recording about we've talked a little bit about your kind of, you said you're a little bit fearful, I guess, of snakes or not?
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah. I mean, okay, here, I'll give two other instances after the snake falling out of trees and finding them behind file cabinet. So like a year later, I'm working at a different camp teaching environmental education, and they have the reptile guy come. So all the kids, come touch the reptiles. And I'm just like kind of slowly taking a few steps back to the back of the room. So no one's like, okay, teacher, here, do it too. And then about 3 years ago, it's at the family house. So nice old Japanese house, and I'm sitting in there. The door's closed, and there's two snakes in the gutters, and my father-in-law is getting them out with a broom while I'm like cowering behind the glass door. So
but Matt's notes are like, okay, watching the movie, I don't see any snakes yet. Is this even a snake movie? 3 minutes in, still no snakes. Maybe I'll get off easy. 6 minutes in, haven't found a snake yet. Maybe this movie's not even about snakes. 23 minutes in, haven't seen any snakes. Maybe I dodged a bullet. Oh God, here come the snakes.
Matt, how pissed off were you at the pointless jump scare right at the end?
I knew there was good. I think that's in my notes too, like waiting for the jump scare. Like it was like, I mean, it was so obvious, right? So you're just like, where does it hit, I always point out Event Horizon being the movie that just completely pissed me off with the jump scares, because the jump scares in that, like, what are you doing, from like the crewmate earlier in the movie. It's just, but also I saw it in the theater. So I guess a jump scare in a movie theater and a jump scare on your laptop are also two very different things.
True.
And by that time, I'd seen so many, rubbery looking CGI snakes. I'm like, kind of whatever. So
yeah, I don't think it was definitely not effective. In fact, I don't even really remember it. What I do remember though was the closing credits by Cobra Starship, man. That was fantastic. Took me back in time. I remember hearing that song being played all over the place, and just loved the energy, loved the video, man. Just riveting. Kept me glued to the closing credits.
It's really funny to go back to now because they put that in, and the fact that you've got a music video in your end credits suggests that they think these guys are going to be huge.
Yeah.
And you never heard about Cobra Starship after this song.
No. No, they had the other song with Leighton Meester, who was also in the Orville episode, Lasting Impressions. And so they did the song Bad Boys, or something along those lines. I was like, yeah, I think this was the one single that got released because they got to do the Snakes on the Plane song, and the radio, the record label is still trying to push them pretty hard.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't actually hear. I didn't know the song because 2006. Yeah, I would have been in Japan, and I don't think the movie really took much traction here.
Although you guys are all waiting for Space Battleship Yamato to come out in 2010. That was only 4 short years away. So
that is true. That was a massive film here. After the Tohoku quake, I had a little time off, and I was actually watching Space Battleship, the anime, on my laptop. But they were still having aftershocks from the quake, and the elementary school had, you'd hear an alarm from the elementary school, and the Space Battleship Yamato's red alarm and that sound were the same thing, so it was really confusing. Like, yeah.
I love that you said red alarm.
Yeah,
red alarm. Red alarm.
I've been brainwashed. I've turned into a packlet. Okay.
When Matt first saw that episode, I was hearing about Red Alarm all day, every day for like a week.
Oh my God.
Red Alarm.
I was crying at that. Just the dumbness of the voice. Red Alarm.
The worst I've ever had was Tim and Eric Awesome Show, where they have the advertisement for a fake rock band called Pusswick Bang Gang. And my wife got pissed off me because I watched it. I started laughing. I didn't stop laughing till about 2 months later. That's what was it? Kiss me once, shame on you. Kiss me twice, let's party. Yeah, I love that. Kiss me once, shame on you. Okay, kiss me twice, let's party. So I was making sure I was getting that right. Another one's just like flip you the bud, flip you. Sorry, I'm going to start laughing for another 2 months. But yeah, sometimes I laugh at jokes too long.
Right there with you, man.
But anyway, it is 15 years later. How's this movie looking in the future that is our present?
Like, some films ask big questions about the human condition and about, what does our place in the universe mean? But not every film has to do that. Sometimes a film can just ask, what if there were some snakes on a plane? And this film does that really well. Like, I'm very glad this film exists. I haven't seen it in a long time, but going back to it, I'm like, yeah, this is just fun. I hope people don't make so many just dumb creature features these days, but I want to see more of them.
I wrote somewhere in my notes, Die Hard on a snake.
Yeah. I'm going to give it probably the highest recommendation I can. I saw this movie for the first time. I think Saturday night, possibly Sunday night in the hotel I watched it. Could not wait to watch it again. Was looking forward to watching it again. So the fact that I never saw it before, really, really enjoyed the film. Really, really enjoyed the rewatch. I'm glad this movie exists. I'm glad we watched it, and I had a lot of fun. And if you're looking for something, just a little hour and 40-minute distraction, that'll shock and delight you, I would recommend Snakes on a Plane. 100%, 5 stars.
I wonder if the reason it's not that beloved is because of the whole meme thing, and people were like, "Oh, well, this has to be the most hilarious film ever made, or they've wasted it." And it's like, no, it can just be an okay romp.
I don't know. It could be like James T. Kirk said in Arena, we have a natural disdain for reptiles. when he was fighting the Gorn. I don't know. Maybe that's why we don't like it. It's not as beloved as it could be.
Now, you said you wanted more creature features, but is this where the whole like kind of sci-fi channel weird creature feature thing started with bad CGI? I haven't really seen these films, like your Sharknadoes and stuff.
Well, yeah, because alongside this, there was Snakes on a Train. Was the straight to DVD knockoff that came out when this film came out.
Yeah, so they're called mockbusters.
Yeah,
mockbusters. Yeah.
I kind of want to see Snakes on a Train because apparently that one's about like voodoo. He puts a voodoo curse on the train and it's full of snakes.
Now, pheromones. That was way more believable. I was doing a lot of voice to text transcribing on this when I was watching it. It came out as pheromones. And I just left it in my notes.
Yeah, I guess you're right, Matt. The creature features are being made, but they're just not being made at like the cinema scale. They're being made for the Sci-Fi Channel and this kind of schlocky mockbuster stuff.
But yeah, I would say probably around from 2006 to like 2011 might have been like the golden age of Sci-Fi Channel, mockbusters,
Ghost Spiders, Sharknado, Mega Shark.
Exactly. Yeah, especially like the two different things together. Yeah, Sharktopus and things along those lines.
I guess it was that little window where they knew they'd still make a lot of home video money. Like people would still buy this on DVD, whereas after 2011 or so, I'm actually not sure when people start streaming because I haven't been to the States since 2010. But somewhere.
Yeah, maybe a crappy film like that doesn't make that much money on like a Netflix.
Because now it's like you just make a complete TV series of something, but I guess there needs to be like you have to make it at least smell a little bit like peak TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, just stretch it out for 10 hours and call it a series.
Yeah.
Like Samuel L. Jackson is the king of this shit because he did Jurassic Park, Snakes on a Plane, and Kong Skull Island.
There was a shark one too, though, right?
Oh,
Blue water, deep water, something like that. We made their brains bigger and they got smarter, right? That was a line. That was kind of like their attempt at this line, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson is the king of that. Yeah, that's all you need in a movie. You just need a beast and Samuel L. Jackson.
And
I'll watch that every day for the rest of my life.
And one of the top 10 film quotes ever. You had that in too.
It was good, man. I was by the time that line was delivered, man, I was wound up, just ready to go. It was awesome.
I guess go ahead.
Either of you guys surf?
No,
I have no.
Stay standing up on a skateboard.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
When I was a kid, I played. I had the poser look. I had the Edward Furlong hair and the flannel shirts and the floppy jeans, but I couldn't skate. I played in a band, so I guess that made up for it. But I was definitely like a poser.
It, man. No, you're definitely cool.
I do the like lamest possible version of extreme sports in that I ski.
Nice. I saw the scene at the end where Sean was teaching Flynn how to surf, and they had both of them kind of laying down paddling, and in a very kind of seamless transition and pan out, it looked like the same two guys jumped up on the surfboard, which is very difficult to do if you're not an experienced surfer.
I think Samuel L. Jackson does surf because there's a couple of gags in the MCU about him surfing as well.
Oh, no way. Okay.
So I think he might be a legit surfer.
Good. Well, that scene was well done, and if it wasn't him, it looked great.
I was like, I haven't noticed a cut. I think this is still the actors. So that was pretty cool.
No, my beach growing up was Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, and you can't surf there. Maybe in winter. You get a wetsuit, you get in winter, but in summer, no.
Yeah, there's surfing on the the ocean side of Long Island, Fire Island, the Hampton beaches and those kind of things. But we were too poor, man. I was a body surfer guy.
Yeah. I do that. Again, I didn't learn to ride a bicycle till I was 25. So maybe I wasn't like a great balance guy. I don't know. I guess we'll wrap up today. Mike, if you could tell folks what you're up to, especially with your podcast. This is actually like airing in like 4 days or something. So if you have anything timely, feel free to share it.
Yeah, I'm working with the Roddenberry Podcast Network on Mission Log the Orville, where we look at every episode of the Orville and tear it apart and look for meanings, morals, messages, and kind of to see how well does the show align with the kind of the Star Trek philosophy. We've got Brandon Braga, Joe Manoski, Marvin Rush, a lot of Star Trek DNA in that show. David Goodman, we just interviewed in a supplemental that dropped April 27th. So check that out. And we're waiting for the premiere of season 3 on June 2nd on Hulu. So if you haven't checked out the Orville, I encourage you to check it out. It's really good sci-fi. And it has, Seth's kind of unique brand of comedy, which just makes the characters more relatable. But it's real science fiction. It's real human issues looked at from a global perspective. And we're going to start getting into season 3 here on June 2nd. So that's we're on Twitter at ML_the Orville, and you can find us at podcasts.roddenberry.com, and you can get me on Twitter at mrichards1701.
Okay, well, this podcast has been Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary. You can find it on Twitter at MLSFS139. We're also on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Just search Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary. Make sure you rate and review, like and subscribe, blah, blah, blah. When the numbers go up, we feel good. If you want to help support the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/podcastiopodcastius, where you can throw us $1 a month to help keep it online and help cover Zoom and stuff like that. And from there, you can find links to all the other podcasts me and Matt create. So even if you don't want to support us, that's a good way to go and find our stuff. That's patreon.com/podcastiopodcastius.
Okay. I don't know.
I have had it with these motherfucking listeners on this motherfucking podcast.
That's very much like our old outro. Cool. Oh yeah. The when we started having guests, we decided we had to get rid of our old outro.
What was that?
Fuck off.
No. It's get the fuck out of our sanctuary.
Oh yeah, that was it.
It is a sanctuary, for God's sakes.
Yeah. And now it's time for you to get out. Okay.
Yeah, and we got rid of them. And I've always, I've been kind of a defender of the mask policy and trying to keep everybody healthy and not spread a global pandemic. But as of 4 days ago, I was kind of like, or a week ago, I was like, I have had it with these motherfucking masks on the motherfucking planes, because it just has become a problem. And I wish it never was. I wish everybody could just
well, obviously,
play nice.
Living in Japan, it's been absolutely zero issue.
Yeah,
there's not even any kind of law or mandate. The government just said, "Oh, you should probably wear a mask," and everyone just did.
Yeah,
what a concept. Yeah,
societal pressure. So
I wear it in the gym. It's fine. Mask is not a problem.
I know, and they weren't a problem here. Just the problem is that it almost got to the point where like people treated each other like they do on the internet, because you can't see a face, and it was I don't know. I mean, I'm just kind of hypothesizing, but it was it's terrible.
Yeah, it is weird sometimes when I walk in a street and see someone like that's not, and I'm like, I feel like I'm like seeing like part of them I'm not supposed to be seeing. Like they're going down the street with their shirt off or something.
Oh God, we're going to end up going back to like when an ankle used to be sexy.
Yeah, really.
I saw her chin yesterday.
Unfortunately, most of my non-max time is in the rice fields, because walk around there, you're not going to. And there's the Oji-san, so the little old men in the farm. So you're mostly seeing little old men. So
I hang around the water fountain so I can see girls pull their masks down for a drink.
That's gonna be a thing in Japan. You know that. That's gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, Akihabara, a weird place, right?
Luke, where are you right now?
I'm in me and Matt both live in Nagano.
Oh, okay.
We met.
I didn't realize you were that close. Also, I just saw the poster behind you, so I kind of thought, I was making the connection. Yeah. The map, I guess, not the poster. Yeah. But I didn't know if you were in the UK somewhere or maybe something like that.
Yeah, I met.
The fact that it looks like it's light out, threw that off. Yeah.
Now we're going to be in the same room in about 3 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. You guys teach together?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent. Man, that's fun. Well, thanks for having me on, man. I had a blast.
Yeah.
And we'll have to think about a time enough episode to cover.
Well, I think the Odyssey of Flight 33 is the first episode of season 2. I'm gonna do the season 2 list once I finish season 1. So
all right.
But I keep
is that the come out of the approach? There's the World's Fair. Come out of the approach again. There's the dinosaurs. Was that one?
I think that's right.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, that one was fun.
Hold on, I actually have the set right here, so I can just sit here and.
Oh, you don't have to do that. I can look it up.
Oh no, I got the disc out. I'm like season 1, season 2. It is. Oh, actually, King 9 Will Not Return is the first one in season 2. At the bottle. I'm looking here for ones that actually have. Oh, that might not even actually be season 2. Oh, it's real late in season 2, so I'll probably bug you for one before that. But
okay, cool.
Keep you in mind for that. So I've already had a few.
Yeah. If you think anything else doesn't. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't necessarily need to be aviation related. I know that might help.
Yeah, we were just like,
make me sound like less or more of an idiot, depending on what your listeners like to hear.
Oh, hey, we're not gonna call you on that info. It sounds right to us. So, but yeah, that seemed like a kind of a. I mean, Snakes on a Plane bringing a pilot. That seems like a good call. So
yeah,
it should work out fine. But
good. So, what was the justification for Showgirls? I got to hear that before.
It was our
Matt
cheat
says
month.
that Showgirls takes place in the mirror universe of Star Trek. That's why everyone's an asshole to everyone else.
No, but that we did our cheat month, so we just did not sci-fi films. So was it Harold and Maude, Throne of Blood, Showgirls, and Up in Smoke? Although Up in Smoke, we were like the van is made of with Chong on the podcast. So we were like, well, the van is made out of marijuana, so that's kind of sci-fi. So we had our little justifications. Harold and Maude, there is no justification for that, is there?
It was just a cheat month.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I am going to begin my journey of work. Like I said, I'll send you all the pertinent links and stuff. But this will be up for your Tuesday, I believe. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
This is a quick turnover. Okay. Have a good one then.
Thanks. Good night, guys. Or good.